Tween's first chapter, Library Mural Edition. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. Forward. Anne and the Frank family. Anne Frank was born in Frankfurt am Main on June 12, 1929, the second daughter of Edith and Otto Frank. Her sister Margot was 3 years older. Otto Frank came from an upper-middle-class German Jewish family from Frankfurt am Main, while Edith, née Hollander, also Jewish, was the daughter of a wealthy industrialist from Aachen. Given the rise of National Socialism, the Nazi Party, in Germany, difficult economic times with rampant inflation, and the appointment of Adolf Hitler as Chancellor of the Reich on January 30th, 1933, the family no longer saw a future in Germany. In the summer of 1933, Otto Frank was the first member of the family to move to Amsterdam, followed a few months later by his wife Edith, and then by Margot in late 1933. Finally, Anne, who had been living with her grandmother in Aachen for a few weeks, joined the rest of the family. In their years in Amsterdam, the Franks lived in a middle-class Jewish neighborhood of Merwiedeplein, and Anne enjoyed a completely ordinary childhood, soon making new friends. She attended the Montessori kindergarten and school until she was compelled to enroll in the Jewish Lyceum. Amsterdam under Nazi occupation. The Germans occupied the Netherlands in May 1940, and life changed dramatically for the Frank family. On June 20th, 1942, Anne wrote, "Jews were required to wear a yellow star. Jews were required to turn in their bicycles. Jews were forbidden to use streetcars. Jews were forbidden to ride in cars, even their own. Jews were required to do their shopping between 3 and 5 p.m. Jews were required to frequent only Jewish-owned barber shops and beauty parlors. Jews were forbidden to be out on the streets between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. Jews were forbidden to go to theaters, movies, or any other forms of entertainment. Jews were forbidden to use swimming pools, tennis courts, hockey fields, or any other athletic fields. Jews were forbidden to go rowing. Jews were forbidden to take part in any athletic activity in public. Jews were forbidden to sit in their gardens or those of their friends after 8 p.m. Jews were forbidden to visit Christians in their homes. Jews were required to attend Jewish schools, etc. From October 1940 on, Otto Frank, as a Jew, was no longer allowed to own a company. Anne and Margot were no longer allowed to attend school with Gentiles and were forced to transfer to the Jewish Lyceum in the autumn of 1941. From May 1942, the whole family had to wear a Jewish star visibly on their clothing, as did all Jews in the Netherlands. During this period, Otto Frank made intensive and repeated efforts to arrange for his family to emigrate from the Netherlands, but unfortunately, his attempts to secure a visa were not successful, as none of the countries whose consulates he applied to were prepared to accept a family that were, in effect, stateless. Escape to the secret annex. When Margot received a summons in early July 1942 to report for work in a labor camp, both girls learned for the first time that their parents had been preparing for some time a secret hiding place in an annex to Otto Frank's factory in Prinsengracht. Otto Frank had been discreetly taking clothes, crockery, medicines, and the like there over several months. Thus, on the evening of July 5th, Anne and Margot packed a few belongings into their rucksacks to take with them the following morning. Anne had to say goodbye to Mortje, her beloved cat. On July 6th, Anne arrived in the secret annex, which her family would share with 4 other people. She would not leave it until her arrest on August 4th, 1944. The diary. Anne Frank had been given a diary by her parents for her 13th birthday on June 12, 1942. From this date onward, she wrote letters in it to Kitty, her imaginary friend. Having begun writing in her diary in her parents' apartment in Merwedeplein, she continued her entries while hiding in the secret annex. At first, she wrote strictly for herself, but in spring 1944, as she was listening illegally to a London broadcast with her family, she heard a Dutch minister in exile announce that he hoped to publish after the war a collection of diaries and letters written during the German occupation. Inspired by this, Anne resolved to publish a novel entitled Het Excruciating, The Secret Annex, based on her diary. At this point, Anne started to edit and revise her writing, creating pseudonyms for most of the people mentioned. The last entry of the diary is August 1st, 1944. 3 days later, on August 4th, together with all the other people living in the secret annex, she was discovered and arrested, and then eventually deported and killed. Otto Frank was the only inhabitant of the secret annex to survive the war and return from the concentration camps. Until his death, he dedicated himself to the publication of Anne's diary. June 12th, 1942. I hope I will be able to confide everything to you, as I have never been able to confide in anyone, and I hope you will be a great source of comfort and support. Comment added by Anne on September 28, 1942. So far, you truly have been a great source of comfort to me, and so has Kitty, whom I now write to regularly. This way of keeping a diary is much nicer, and now I can hardly wait for those moments when I am able to write in you. Oh, I'm so glad I brought you along.